Did you know that judgment may be preventing you from living in peace? The Bible teaches us that, by judging others, we move away from God's grace and true peace. But what if I told you that there is a way to transform this and live with more empathy, forgiveness, and love? In this video, you will learn 5 practical lessons from Jesus to start living without judging others, achieving the true freedom that comes with it. Shall we go on this journey together? Lesson 1. Look inside yourself before criticizing. Jesus' first practical lesson to live without judging others is to look inside yourself before criticizing. We are often quick to see the defects of others, but it is crucial to reflect on our own flaws. Jesus teaches us, in Matthew 7 verses 3-5, "Why do you look at the speck that is in your brother's eye, and do not notice the beam that is in yours?" This invites us to practice humility and recognize that we all have areas to improve. Instead of pointing out the mistake of others, we should take advantage of this moment to reflect on our own actions and seek internal change. By doing this, we become more humble and understanding. Recognizing our own mistakes helps us to act with more patience and love. As it says in Matthew 7 verse 1, "Do not judge, so that you may not be judged." When we apply this teaching, our coexistence with others becomes more harmonious, and we are more similar to Christ, who teaches us to be merciful and compassionate. Lesson 2. Practice empathy. Put yourself in the other's place. The second important lesson to live without judging others is to practice empathy. Before issuing a judgment, it is essential to try to understand what the other is going through. We all face internal battles, and it's easy to forget that we don't always know what's going on in someone's life. In Ephesians 4 verse 2, we are taught to walk with all humility and meekness, with long-suffering, supporting each other in love. When we manage to put ourselves in the other's place, our vision expands, and instead of judging, we begin to act with compassion and understanding. Imagine that you are at work and a colleague acts harshly with you. Instead of reacting with anger or criticism, try to ask yourself, what is he facing that is causing him to behave like this? By practicing empathy, you become more patient and less likely to judge rashly. Jesus, in Luke 6 verse 36, instructs us, "Be merciful, as your Father is also merciful." This is the invitation to, instead of looking with critical eyes, look with eyes of compassion and understanding. Lesson 3. Avoid comparisons. The third lesson to live without judging others is to avoid comparisons. Frustration and judgment often arise when we begin to compare our life with that of others. The Bible teaches us that everyone has their own path and their own struggles. In 2 Corinthians 10 verse 12, it is written, "Because we do not dare to classify ourselves or compare ourselves with some who praise themselves, but measure themselves by measure and compare themselves with others." Comparison is a trap, because it will always make us feel that we are inferior or superior to others, creating a vicious cycle of judgment and discontent. Imagine that you are browsing social networks and see the life of someone who seems perfect. Instead of admiring what the person has achieved, the comparison begins to make you feel dissatisfied with your own path. This is normal, but it doesn't have to be what guides your life. By focusing on your own achievements and personal evolution, you free up space for gratitude and peace. Jesus calls us to focus on our own spiritual growth, not on comparisons with others. Remember, each of us has a unique life plan, guided by God. Lesson 4. Focus on helping, not on correcting. The fourth lesson to live without judging others is to focus on helping, not on correcting. Instead of looking for mistakes in others, we should focus on how we can make a positive difference in their lives. Often, when we focus on correcting others, we end up creating a barrier between us and them without really helping. In Galatians 6 verse 1, the Bible tells us, "Brothers, if anyone is surprised in any offense, you, who are spiritual, correct him with a spirit of meekness, looking for yourself so that you are not tempted too." The correction, when necessary, should be done with love and humility, with the aim of helping and not criticizing. Imagine, for example, that a friend is going through a difficult time, and instead of just pointing out what he is doing wrong, you help him with practical actions and words of support. By doing this, you create an environment of mutual understanding and support, rather than a space of judgment. Jesus teaches us to help others as he helps us, without condemning, but offering support. In Matthew 7 verse 12, he says, "Whatever you want men to do to you, do it to them too." This is the principle of Christian love, where the focus is on helping, not on correcting in a harsh or insensitive way. Lesson 5. Practice forgiveness in a genuine way. The last lesson to live without judging others is to practice forgiveness in a genuine way. We often think that forgiveness is more about the other person, but in fact, it is about ourselves. Forgiveness is an act of liberation, which allows us to put aside anger and resentment and brings us closer to God. In Matthew 6 verses 14 to 15, Jesus teaches us, "For if you forgive men for their offenses, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. But if you do not forgive men, neither will your Father forgive your offenses." Forgiveness is not easy, but it is essential for our inner peace and for our relationship with God and with others. Imagine that someone did something that hurt you deeply. Instead of holding a grudge, genuine forgiveness calls us to release this weight, not because of the person, but because of our emotional and spiritual health. By forgiving, we make room for healing and love. Jesus, in Luke 23 verse 34, gives us the perfect example by saying, "Father, forgive them, because they don't know what they do." Even in his pain, he taught us the practice of genuine forgiveness, which does not depend on the other, but on our decision to follow the example of Christ. Now that you have learned 5 practical lessons from Jesus to live without judging others, which one will you start applying first? Remember, change begins within us and each step is essential. If you are ready to live with more empathy, forgiveness, and love, share in the comments how you have been practicing these lessons. And if you want to continue applying the teachings of Christ in your daily life, subscribe to the channel and activate the notifications so you don't miss any content.